It's been several weeks of hard work, but this room is finished and I'm excited to show it to you, and we're going to have a look at it right now. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dirdorf and this is Detroit DIY. If you've been watching this series of videos, you'll know that the popcorn ceiling has been skim coated, the textured walls have been skim coated, there were drywall issues on the walls that have been corrected, drywall cut out and removed, replaced, 2x4s added, whatever needed to be done from some crap work before. In fact, a huge hump in the wall has been fixed, the windows have been retrimmed, and this room has been transformed. Let's start with the ceiling because this is where it all started. And the ceiling was popcorn and it just looked horrible. It looked like it was back in the 1970s. The popcorn was brought down the wall about 3 inches. I'm going to put a tag right above us here so that you can see that video if you haven't. I watched several videos on this and the pros make it look easy. I am not a professional drywaller. I did this in 3 coats and I think that it turned out absolutely phenomenal. The ceiling is nice, flat. Of course, we have some lighting stuff going on here, but I was hoping for a sunny day to do this, but we're in Michigan and we don't see a whole lot of that in the winter. But I am really happy with how this ceiling turned out. The time frame on the ceiling was about 3 weeks from start to finish. I was pretty happy with that. I figured 4 weeks when I first started, so I was happy to get it done a little bit sooner. In fact, I figured 4 weeks for the whole job, the walls and everything, but it didn't happen that way. It took a little bit longer than I thought that it might. Next, let's take a look at the walls. The walls had a texture on them as well that was an additive to the paint, and it put a sand type texture on the wall. It was very coarse and rough. So we skim coated over them and also smoothed them out. And I think they turned out really good. I'm going to put a tag right above on that video. And guys, for the first time doing this, I feel really good about the results. Sanding wasn't horrible, and I think it all turned out really good. So as we look around the room, everything has been painted. The walls are painted a very, very light gray, and the ceiling has been painted a ceiling white. All the window trim has been painted. I replaced this window trim off camera after all the walls were skim coated. That area of the window right there is right along there is a video that I did titled "This is what happens when someone does crap work." I'll put a link right up above to that video. I wound up pulling out a large piece of drywall right there and replacing it due to that huge hump in the wall. There was just no way that could have been blended over. It was too close to the window and it was just a mess. I couldn't be happier with that repair. It blended very nicely. In fact, you can't even tell anything took place there. This window also got retrimmed. I did that on video. The video is titled "How to Trim Out a Troublesome Window," and I'm going to put a tag right up above for that. The results for this window turned out really nice. You would never know that anything had taken place there either. Down below this window, there was a huge crack. I did do a video on that, and that was titled "How Do You Fix This?" And I'll put a link right up above to that video. I pulled out that whole section of drywall underneath the window, replaced it, and it blended in very nice. Really happy with how that turned out as well. All in all, this room has been totally transformed, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. It looks way more modern than it ever has. For those of you wondering where Oliver might be, he's right there. And just to help freshen the room and make everything look nice, the light switch was replaced here. I'll put a tag up above for that video. We've also replaced all the receptacles. Some of them were worn out, some of them had been painted over, and all of them just needed to be freshened up. And it just helps to make the room look and feel like it's been completely upgraded. So don't forget to do the receptacles and the switches. I'm going to put a link right up above for the video on replacing the receptacle. These are also pretty easy to do, not super complicated. Just make sure that the breakers are turned off. The next big change in this room were the covers over the baseboard heat. The registers were old, they looked outdated. I looked to get some new ones, but you know, they all look just like they did then. You can buy that same register now that was here to begin with. So we went to Pinterest, we looked around, we found some ideas, and this is what we wound up with. I think it turned out really clean. It looks really nice, and it wraps around behind the couch where you can't see it there. But I'm really happy with how this turned out. I'm going to put a tag right up above here. And this video was titled How to Update Your Baseboard Registers. It took about 9 weeks to complete all the work in this room. And it was 9 well-spent weeks. Now, of course, that's not working on it all day long, every day. That's a few hours at the end of the day. That's a couple hours on the weekends, or maybe an entire weekend day. And it was just a matter of keep plugging away at it with a little bit of spare time here and a little bit of spare time there. And I just couldn't be happier with how it turned out. And I would say this is, it's medium on the experience level. There was nothing here that was super difficult. And the nice thing with drywall mud is if you accidentally put too much, you can sand it off. Well, that's a lot of work, and it's hard on the shoulders and hard on the arms. It can be sanded off. So there's no mistake here that there's no returning from. It's just a matter of sanding. Thin coats. It's always thin coats with drywall mud. Thin coats. And you won't find yourself in too much trouble. Just don't lay it down so thick that you know you're going to have to sand a ton of it off. That is not the way to go. Especially if you're not a pro. Just don't get it too thick. If you have to put 2 more coats than the pros do because you put it on so thin, that's fine. You're not sanding and sanding until your arms are falling off. And that's my philosophy. I do not like sanding drywall mud, so I just try to keep it as thin as I can and work it in layers. I hope you've enjoyed this series of videos. We still have more work to do, and I'm going to be making some more great videos. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider doing so. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the updates going on, and that it will help you as well improve your home. If you'd like to get an awesome shirt like this, I've put a link down in the description to my store. We have some pretty cool stuff, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd check it out. That's all we got for this time. If you enjoyed yourself, click on one of those 2 videos that are going to pop up next to me. And remember to always respect the power of your power tools. We'll see you soon.